Did you know that supplements can differ by more than 15% depending on your ethnic background? Vitamin supplements use across ethnic groups. White people, 35.7. Black people, 22.6. Hispanics, 19.7. And Asians, 28.8. So the question would be, why don't black and brown people and Asian people take a multivitamin and mineral supplement formula the same percentage as white people do? My own personal experience with the brown people in my family has been, they don't believe it. With my black friends, the majority is the same. They don't believe it. And so I guess the question is, why?
Well, there
are white people who don't believe in it either.
Right, but there are many different probable causes for this. One is cultural.
Cultural meaning what?
Well, they're raised that you eat food. That's what you do.
That's how you get your nutrients.
Yeah, that's what you do. You eat food. You eat good. You eat healthy.
But I know plenty of white people who believe the same thing.
That's true, but the percentages are different. There's also an education thing.
A targeted education.
Yes.
Because I don't remember middle school and our high school or college, anybody teaching nutrients except for in food.
Well, the majority of the most important things, tools that you need for your life, you didn't learn in school anyway.
Yeah, well.
The majority of school education outside of the basics is a waste of time.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of belief. It's a matter of association. It's a matter of what my friends are doing, what my relatives are doing.
Okay, so that makes sense of what the culture is.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. And that's why I believe that we need to spend more effort reaching out to these various minorities so that they can understand the importance. For example, genetically, African Americans have a much higher risk of hypertension.
Yeah, well, that's like my Latin background is everyone has high blood pressure almost.
Yeah, and also diabetes.
And diabetes, yeah.
So those folks need this information more practically than others. Because, diabetes among Latins is almost epidemic.
Yeah.
Almost.
Even the kids.
Yeah, almost epidemic. And it's getting worse by the week.
Yeah.
Statistically. And if they could understand that a simple nutrients like chromium, vanadium, aspartic acid could change their outcome, change their future, I think it would make a world of difference.
Yeah, and that's what I guess we mean, or that's what you hear when you hear targeted education.
Yes.
Yeah. And so with those statistics, health disparities, what health disparities would there be? Does that mean like maybe black and brown people only listen to their doctor about nutrients?
Or their parents, you see.
Well, that's like the example of what your book is about Hawaiian people.
Yes.
And the diabetes and the loss of a limb.
Yep.
And you wrote that, what?
35 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And it hasn't gotten any better.
And that was your targeted education.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yes.
And then they have the other statistics, like women are more likely to take supplements than men by 6 to 14% points across all the groups.
And I think that it's far, far higher than that.
Yeah, I do too.
Because when I was out on the lecture circuit, which I was for many, many years, I guarantee you that when I walked into a auditorium to do a presentation, 95% or more of the attendees were women.
And the 5% were the men that got dragged there?
Drugged along and had to go along because of marital relations.
Yeah. Pressure.
Yeah.
Well, and, that makes so much sense. But, you being Hawaiian and white and me being Mexican and white, in a way, I almost feel funny discussing black people and targeted education and while their rate is lower, or Asian too, which is very low too. So if you guys have any input on it, we'd love to hear it, because we feel like you should almost focus on targeted education for the groups that need it the most.
I think so, because there's so many health challenges genetically that these folks have that could be drastically improved.
Yeah, they could change their life.
Proper supplementation and nutrient intake. But how do you get the message across? That's the big problem. You guys got an idea? We want to hear about it.
We'd love to hear it.
We are an education organization, and I have beat my head against the wall for years trying to figure out the best way to do it. And I have succeeded in making some inroads.
Yeah.
But not nearly to the degree I would certainly like to.
Yeah. So if you guys have any ideas, we'd love to hear it. And starting with our third video on the Quack Attack series, I saw this article, and then you saw this article. 40 years later, proven Quack Attack, a perfect example of the Quack Attack. You were saying 40 years ago about how eggs don't affect cholesterol, and how cholesterol in eggs does not raise cholesterol levels, it actually lowers it.
You bet. And there's some chemical reasons for that, which I'll go into in a second. But one of the things that I have been verbally and in writing crucified for the last 40 years has been my stand on cholesterol. Cholesterol is not your enemy. Cholesterol does not cause heart disease. Cholesterol is vital to your health and well-being. Low cholesterol levels are far more dangerous to your health than high levels of cholesterol. And eggs, the most perfect food for humans, do not raise cholesterol levels significantly. Well, 40 years later, boy, I'm glad I'm still around to hear about this. Just last month in July, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition published an article where they were able to establish that eating 2 eggs a day, 2 eggs a day, that's 14 eggs a week, actually not only did not raise cholesterol, it lowered LDL cholesterol.
Well, I could never do that. I don't love eggs that much.
Yeah. Well, you can fry them, you can boil them, you can...
Yeah, I still don't think I could eat 14.
But not only that, but this article goes on to say, and it's like I wrote it. In fact, I've written it in several books and written it in several articles. It says most of your blood cholesterol does not come from your diet. Duh.
Yeah.
43 years I've been saying that.
Yeah.
And I have been fought and argued and persecuted. It says the cholesterol is made by your liver.
Yeah.
How many thousands of times have I said that elevated cholesterol is a liver problem? It is not a diet problem. It is not what you eat. It's a detoxing, and it is caused by a congested liver that cannot regulate lipid production. And now, finally, boy, you got to be ancient to get vindicated in this world. Finally, they're actually saying exactly what I wrote in my book in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Almost word for word. So I guess it pays off to hold out. The article does go on to say, and I want to touch on this briefly.
Okay.
It goes on to say that they believe that saturated fats are the problem in the diet. That's animal products, animal fats, primarily.
Yeah.
And they're the ones they now believe cause elevated cholesterol. They're still wrong. It'll probably take 20 more years for them to figure that out, and I know I won't be here for that one. But what they don't understand is, first of all, simple logic. Human beings have been consuming animal fats almost exclusively for thousands of years, not hundreds, thousands of years. They clubbed some poor thing over the head, cooked him, and they ate animal fat.
Yeah.
It gave them energy. It gave them strength. And those people didn't worry about elevated cholesterol.
Yeah.
The heart disease epidemic that we're blaming on cholesterol, which is also wrong, comes from rancid, overprocessed, polyunsaturated vegetable oils, corn oil, sunflower oil, etc. The epidemic of heart disease began about 1910, 1920, really blossomed into a full-fledged epidemic in about the 1950s. Well, guess what, friends? That's when the food industry started manufacturing vegetable oils by the billions of gallons and forced them down our throat by scaring all of us into the fact that animal fats cause heart disease.
Yeah, and all the truth has come out about that. Gary Brecka brought all that out. And
finally, yes.
Talked about all that. And
so they're still wrong. At least they got the cholesterol part right.
Well, there you go.
So I guess we can't complain, can we?
No. And here's the beginning of the way we were going to start the quack attack was that, can you believe still to this day, there are people that believe that when you consume alcohol, it turns into sugar in the body. Basically, you're reversing a science fact in your mind, thinking that when it's like taking science and like throwing it out the window and saying, well, this is what happens. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if it's a mix or something.
A first-year college student in chemistry would know better.
Well, yeah.
And yet, I have heard this hundreds of times.
Yeah. I still hear it.
Alcohol converts to sugar.
Yep.
And you know who the majority of people were that told me that?
Who?
Dietitians.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're
I saw
the most constipated group of people still left in the nutrition industry anyway. But
I saw a dietitian interview, and he was talking about how that he loves to have his or he loves to have tequila straight or vodka straight. And he was saying, but I don't do it that often because it converts to sugar.
Yeah.
And the guy on the interview said, well, scientifically that, and then they interrupted, another guy on the podcast interrupted him, and they never got back to it. But he was about to correct them, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So it just shows that maybe he was just trying to let sleeping dogs lie or something,
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just easier to brush things under a carpet than it is to deal with them.
Well,
but I'm telling you, alcohol does not convert to sugar. Alcohol does not contain carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Therefore, it cannot convert to sugar. Alcohol is the end process. It's the end product of sugar breakdown. It is not the beginning.
Correct, yeah.
So when you make alcohol, I don't care whether it's gin or vodka or rum or wine or beer, the process is called fermentation.
Yep.
You put a yeast together with sugar, it ferments.
Moonshine.
Bubbles form, and the end result is booze.
Yeah.
You can't go back the other way. You can't take alcohol and put yeast in it and make sugar out of it. You got to grow the sugar in the field.
Yeah. So imagine in A1C news, this woman had type 2 diabetes for many years and was following the conventional method and management that she saw very little results in. After much research and consulting with nutritionists, she decided to start taking a blood sugar support formula along with following a natural approach. And in 3 months, her A1C already dropped 1.5 points, and she intends to follow this direction moving forward. So what was the real cause of it?
Well, undoubtedly, type 2 diabetes is driven by 3 things. Genetics.
Yeah, it's a big one.
If it is huge. If type 2 diabetes runs in your family, you better pay close attention because it's out to get you. We know that it is highly hereditary. Number 2, diet. The standard American diet, with its refined and ultra-refined foods, which are almost exclusively carbohydrate in content, have contributed to the genetic predisposition. 3, lack of proper nutrients.
Yeah.
The foods in our kitchen cabinets and refrigerators are so devoid of nutrients that we can't get enough nutrients to balance our own body chemistry.
Yeah.
And in the case of someone who's predestined or predetermined genetically for type 2 diabetes, it's a kiss of death because they're not getting enough chromium, vanadium, they're not getting enough B complex to utilize carbohydrates in the first place, and the list goes on and on. And this is another example where this lady had been going to her doctor, and her doctor had been giving her things like metformin, which is usually the first one they give, and then moved on to more insidious medications. And then, of course, if she hadn't done anything about it, eventually she may have been put on insulin by injection, and that would have really been terrible because that's the quickest way to kill a diabetic.
Well, and Jason Fung talks about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And she luckily found a holistic health practitioner who decided that he was going to rebalance her body chemistry and provide her with the nutrients that she needed and provided her with the dietary advice that she needed. And so this is yet another example where alternative thinking outside of conventional medication and conventional thinking has helped somebody. And that's what we call another quack attack.
Okay, and then another great example is in osteoporosis news. This woman had osteoporosis and she had been taking the standard meds for it. It wasn't producing the results she was looking for. She was considered moderate to high risk for fractures. She decided to talk about this with her fitness advisor, and they discussed replacing key minerals such as calcium together with micro and major trace minerals necessary for calcium transport. And after 2 years of following this program together with resistance exercise, which is very important, you got to move and you need exercise, she not only has stopped the bone loss, but she regained significant bone density in the process to the point where she no longer is considered for high risk of fractures. So if that's not the quack attack perfect example, I don't know what is.
That's it. It's looking at the cause rather than the effect. If you go to most doctors and you say, I take a calcium supplement, or should I take a calcium supplement for my bone health? Most of the time they'll say, well, yeah, but it really doesn't work that well. Well, the reason why they say that is because nobody's bothered to educate them. If you take a calcium magnesium supplement, it's likely not going to work that well because your body can't absorb it, especially if you're over 50 years of age.
Because of the pH problem.
Because of the pH problem. Calcium absorbs in an acid. And most people don't have enough acid to digest a hamburger, let alone absorb calcium. And so when this is going on, calcium by itself will not likely increase bone density. But if you address the pH of the calcium and you pre-acidify the calcium with things like citric acid, malic acid, amino acids, then all of a sudden the body can utilize that calcium. When you provide trace minerals along with it. Zinc, manganese, copper, strontium. Those are little wheels on a wagon that carry the calcium ions back to the bone and actually can increase bone density. We have been involved in several clinical studies over the years where we have taken the right form of calcium with concomitant trace minerals and other nutrients, and we have not only stopped bone loss in postmenopausal women, we've actually increased it by 2 to 4% over 2 years.
That's what you call a quack attack right
That's
there.
another quack attack, folks.